Hello, everybody. My name is Polly. This is the Latino Slant, and we're here in the Slant living room. And this will be our final live show on the iPad. And so let me just say right now, any and all apologies for if there's any on my end, any connectivity issues. I might throughout the show have to put on my icon. Now, good news is I'm getting my new computer tomorrow. So that is very exciting. Another thing I guys want you to do is I want you to take the link, I want you to share it, I want you to hit the like button right now so YouTube can start recognizing that we're live and we're going to have a great talk. We're going to have a great talk and there's already some early people here and I really appreciate you guys being here. Other thing I want to say before we go into our subject for today. Happy Memorial Day, the ultimate sacrifice paid by those who gave their lives in duty, in combat, in this country's history. Happy Memorial Day in their memory. What we did here on the Slant, on our community tab, we put a celebration and retrospective that we did last year on this particular group of U.S. military heroes from a single street in Illinois called Hero Street, USA. And it is a fantastic stream we did for about an hour. I would encourage you guys to mark that special link, especially if you want to find out about military U.S. history that you wouldn't know about. So again, that is on our community tab. And again, happy Memorial Day. Now, last thing before we jump into this is I want to say hi to all the early people that are here. Get the link, share it, say hello. Mark is here. I saw the movie yesterday. It was really good. It is what Multiverse of Madness should have done. Oh yeah, we don't get into that. What's up, Mark? Ari, hey, what's up, Ari? Pete, hello, Pete. Yeah, Alan is cool, man. Alan is cool. And Burst Angel, hail, hola. Welcome to the Latino Slant. This is your first time here. Everyone here that comes and hangs out on this channel is called a Slantino. You don't have to be a Latino to be a Slantino. So, hola to everyone that is here. Okay, there are very few masterpieces in film. And there are very few masterpieces in film, I would say, in the last 20 to 30 years. We're going to talk about one. What's interesting about the Everything Everywhere All at Once film starring Michelle Yeoh and directed by the Daniels is it does something that very few filmmakers can do. Well, it does a lot, but it does something where very few makers who are happen to be of a particular cultural background are able to do two things at the same time. They're able to take their own culture and define it on their terms for a general audience. That's one, because it's not Hollywood. It's not anything as far as a Wokoso point of view trying to define who they are. It is the filmmaker who happens to be from that background. And they do it with such expertise in this film, with such beauty and in so much third dimensionality, get it? That it's not souveniristic. And I say that word a lot because I believe in that. That's how Hollywood treats a lot of Latino programming, you know, and I always put them to the test. The other thing it does, it tells a great story. And maybe I should have said that first, guys. It tells a great story, a story about family, a story about being lost in your own life, a story about happiness, and a story about just treasuring those moments that we have together. And yes, martial arts, kick-ass time, multiverses, and a lot of humor. So that is my quick little monologue on the film. Why don't we go ahead and play the trailer, and then when we come back, we'll do the show intro and bring on our special guest for this special stream. All right, let's take it away there.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The Slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version.
All right, Power, let's go.
That's better. Crack-o.
I don't know what happened there. I don't know if the countdown messed up. All apologies. Hey, I'm telling you, man, I'm running off of Wi-Fi. And even though I'm in my living room right next to the Wi-Fi hub, this is this is obviously a busy time of the day to be using the wireless. Anyways, I hope you guys again, all apologies for any of that. Now, okay, let's get our special guest on here because we can at least talk to our guests. Alan Nig is from Film Threat. He is the editor in chief, and I've been on a couple streams with him. The Film Threat is an amazing channel. Check them out. Let's bring on Alan. Hola, Alan.
Hey, Polly. I'll never forget that stream you were on with me, because we were there live with the infamous slap, and
Yeah.
that was quite a night.
Yeah. No, it was. So what Alan's talking about is that Chris Gore and yourself invited me on to Film Threat Oscar night. We had Tom on there. Anyways, it had a pretty good crowd. Like you guys, like 300 people in the chat, and then we were kind of getting through it, talking smack, whatever. We weren't too excited, and then the slap happened because we were like, this thing's about to end. And the Will Smith slap happened, and your chat shot up to like almost 1,000 people, dude.
And we were watching it live. It's like, is this real?
Is this real?
I think we had the only honest reactions because we didn't have time to think about it. It just happened.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you had, and then Az came on, Script Doctor came on, like all these cool YouTubers came on, just like trying to break it down. It was pretty funny. And look who's here in the chat.
Yeah.
Chris Gore. Polly
Gore
plus Alan equals Film Force to be reckoned with. Yeah. What's up, buddy? It's good to have you in the chat.
I know Chris.
Yeah, you know that dude. So I want to thank you. This is your first time being on the Latino Slant, and we have one big thing in common. We're both LA boys.
Yes, I was going to ask you that, but yeah, born and raised in LA.
Born and raised.
Yeah. And
it's being born and raised in Los Angeles. It's almost we're born and raised around the globe all at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I've lived everywhere south of the 10.
You lived everywhere south of the 10?
Yeah,
that's something. Okay.
Yeah, like I was essentially I was born in Inglewood, and I went to college out in Pomona and Cal State LA, and
dude, I went to Cal State LA.
Oh yeah, hey,
I'm a Golden Eagle.
Golden
Eagle.
I'm going. What was our mascot again? Because we didn't have much.
It was the worst mascot. Hey, they got new hoodies that are pretty dope. I actually have a Dodger cap with the Cal State LA logo on the side. Mm-hmm. If I get a second, I'll go grab it.
Yeah. No, I was there in 1988. I was 2 years into being a diehard Dodger fan at that time, and that was a great time to be a Dodger fan.
That was a great time. We need to talk off screen because I think we might have crossed paths there, sir. That's funny, man. That's funny.
I was at one of the scoreless inning streaks. So.
Oral Hershiser.
Yeah.
Was
that one of the games?
I was doing a play at Cal State when we had a little radio in the backstage, way in the back, and we heard the Kirk Gibson home run.
Yeah.
But we were like in Tech Week. I couldn't leave. We have a couple of super chats, and then we're gonna get into the multiverse. This multiverse, man. I mean, it really is.
It's everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah. Mexican Iron Man comes in for $4.99, dropping a quick like and a super chat to say hi and shout out Alan from Film
Hey,
Threat.
man.
I plan to see this movie as everyone says it's great.
Mm.
Mike, it's a very yes, go see it. Go see it. And thank you for that. Chris Gore comes in with $9.99. Save your money, mijo. But thank you for that. Best multiverse movie opinion.
Mm.
We're gonna get to Alan's first thoughts in a second. Thank you so much for that super chat, Chris Gore and Mexican Iron Man, and thank you everyone for being here. We have some members in the chat, but before we say hello to the members in the chat, let's give the. You know what? We got to break you in. This is your first time on the show, right?
Yes.
All right, here you go, buddy. Meet my uncle. Yeah. Well, everyone has a toothless uncle, man. I don't care where you're from.
No, I've got mine. Yeah.
I got mine. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, everyone in the chat, please do me a favor. Share the link, hit the like, get this algorithm out there. So, Alan, you and Chris saw this movie about a month ago. Did you review? What are your first initial thoughts on this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you summed it up earlier in the stream. I connected so much with the cultural aspect of this movie in terms of, Chris and I kind of go back and forth about this idea of representation. And, to me, representation is more than just seeing people with your skin color up on screen, but it's really about seeing your experience, your life on screen. And, that nailed it on the head right there. And then the second thing is the movie is just one long roller coaster. It just moves and moves. The story itself is dense in a way that everything that's
very dense.
Yeah, it pays off at some point. And there are moments where you're just trying to catch your breath, just trying to keep up with this movie. And then there's a moment in like the 2/3 of the way in where there's this quiet moment with two rocks. And it was just a moment of beauty right at that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Other initial non-spoiler thoughts for you?
Yeah. Like I said, I think, it was, I think that sums it up there. I like the fact that I was constantly thinking throughout this thing. It's multiversal. And the way they set it up, it's very similar to Doctor Strange, and very different from it. And and I like the logic behind it, and I like the story. And there's specific story elements in there that really resonated with me, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk about that in a bit.
Well, as of today, it has made over $56 million, which may not sound like a lot, everyone, but I believe it's A24's biggest hit. And it was made for $15 million, only $15 million. This is and I guess it's still finding a wider audience, a bigger audience. So yeah, just we are in a little bit of a non spoilers there. For me, I've seen it twice, guys. The first time it was such a it was a sensory overload because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I was like, oh, this is like a Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, a Gondry film, like just like this, indie type of filmmaking. And yet it's a sci-fi movie. It's a martial art. I mean, there's all these genres in at the same time, Alan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it just, everything, it's like all these genres that I associate with Asians in cinema. I don't want to get too far in the weeds in terms of, the Chinese aspect of it, but, Yeah,
Well, I'm going to ask you about it, so you might as
yeah,
well. Why not? Why
yeah.
not? Why not? Especially here
Well,
on
I
the
mean,
Latino
I'll start
slant.
off. Yeah, I'll start right off the bat. The family lives in an apartment above a laundromat,
Hmm.
and that's essentially how my father grew up
No
as a child.
way.
Yeah,
Really?
they owned a store. My grandfather owned a store in Chinatown, San Francisco, and him and his
Oh,
four
wow. I
brothers
mean,
and sisters.
you are the stereotype, what you're just saying right now.
Yes.
San Francisco laundromat. Did you also have a restaurant?
Well, my mother's grandparents had a restaurant
Wow.
in Chinatown,
Wow. Okay,
and
go on, please.
it's a very famous restaurant. It's appeared in three big movies. Um,
Ooh.
but yeah, my dad, he grew up in San Francisco. It was a an herb shop, and they lived upstairs in basically two closets. One closet was my grandparents. The other closet was my aunts and my uncles, and that's how they lived. They were squished, but that's what life was like. I want to say, we're talking
Mhm.
the 30s, 40s, 1930s.
So, so there's a lot of parallels in this story culturally for you,
Mm-hmm.
and yet and yet for people who are not Asian, Chinese, it's a jumping pad for
Mm-hmm.
us as a viewer, right? Because it just and yet I mean you gotta understand, guys. Most of this film takes place in an IRS building. We're still talking non-spoilers right now of this film. If we can, Klobby, when you get a moment, bring up a Google image of Michelle or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk. Okay, so my other initial non-spoiler is that when I saw it the second time, it I really had to hold back tears a lot. It was way more emotional for me on the second time. I think it might have been because um, the connections of a multi-generational family,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're Asian, Latino, or whatever background you are, and you have a strong multi-generational family. I was really feeling the feels, man, on what
Mm-hmm.
each character in their arc and what they were accomplishing from the dad to the grandfather. Uh, I I was very, it was very emotional for me on the second time around. Besides being entertained, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's as much as it is a Chinese tale,
Mm-hmm.
the story itself of family is
Mm-hmm.
is universal. It's this idea of living, trying to fulfill your parents' dreams, basically trying to
Mm.
earn your parents' approvals, and you have three generations there that
Mm-hmm.
try in vain to do that because essentially we don't talk to each other. We just show disapproval from our generation to the next, and and it also fits this idea of Chinese in America, and how the daughter becomes acculturated with the American culture, and
Mm.
uh, and how that plays into it. She's in a lesbian relationship, which
Mm.
yeah, which for the older generation who wants children, who want their children to be fruitful and multiply, there's issues with that there.
I mean, there's not even a word for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was like, so the beginning, they're trying to introduce the girlfriend, and she couldn't even come up with a word, or did she know the word, or she just didn't want to say it?
No, she knew the word. She just
Mm.
said "good friend." I
Good
think
friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a word for it in Chinese.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, but that's
So,
the thing is
mhm.
it's that idea of not wanting to let down your parent, and so you cover up.
Mhm.
You paint a different picture in this case in order for the father, Michelle Yeoh's father, to accept the fact that she is a good parent and that she's doing a good job.
So let's get into spoilers because basically, guys, this family is shown in different universes and they're different roles. And the daughter in a different universe is the bad guy or the bad one. And she creates this vortex, this black hole of all her memories, all everything, everywhere, all at once. She puts it on a bagel, an everything bagel, and that is the vortex that she might get sucked into. And it is hilarious. It is very odd. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah,
Everything
I should
bagel?
point out her name is the bad guy. She is named Jobu Tabaki, and yeah, it's similar to what's going on with Doctor Strange in the sense of Jobu learns the ability to jump from one dimension to the next,
Yeah.
and so much so that she's able to break it, and that's ultimately what she's going to do. Is she's so nihilistic that she doesn't care what happens to her, and she doesn't care if she destroys the entire multi-dimensional universe to do it.
So that nihilism is she's trying to get her mom to become part of that so she can have a
Mhm.
companion, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because also too in that universe, she became this
Jobu Tabaki.
Jobu Jobu
I know.
Tabaki because her mom pushed her to be better at her abilities to travel the multiverse, and it
Yeah.
cracked her.
Yeah, see, I don't know that she wanted her to be a companion. I think she wanted her mom to understand the pain
Mm,
that she had put her through.
right.
And this is her way of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Chad, is the name of the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then some. Hey, Clav, if we can click on that photo of Michelle hitting a kung fu pose, that would be dope. Now, don't be confused, guys. We played the trailer. If you see the trailer, Michelle's her main Evelyn, and her name's Evelyn.
Yeah.
Her main Evelyn is not a kung fu artist. um, but there's different Evelyns in the universe, and I guess they show her how to tap into each one and use their powers.
Yeah. So in this dimension, they gave her a device that allows her to find a skill of another Evelyn in another universe, and then she's able to take on the skill, very much like Matrix. I think the cool thing about this Evelyn, and they mentioned it in the film, is that of all the Evelyns in the infinite multiverse, she is the most uninspired. She is the most. She is the
I
most.
mean,
There's nothing special about this Evelyn,
yeah,
and that's why they
yeah,
think she is the perfect Evelyn to
yeah.
to take down the bad guy.
And Andy, it got and people in the chat. If Andy was funny saying it, it's because it is funny in the movie. They actually they say to her, of all the Evelyns, you're the most uninspired.
I know. It's like we don't know why you're the one, but
But it's great. It's
Mhm.
great. And I guess this role was originally written for Jackie Chan. I just found out.
Yeah, yeah. I think she mentioned it in an interview somewhere.
I mean, how different would that have been?
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh is pretty awesome, and you know, I just can't imagine this movie. I guess I can imagine it with Jackie Chan, but I don't think it would have
Yeah.
the swagger or I think maybe he's a little too big of a character, too big, larger than life a character to kind of pull off the normal person, so to speak.
Well, let's talk about that because the first thing is that he would be the father, a male figure. This is
Mhm.
very much, Evelyn. It's all Evelyn's movie, and this is her
Mhm.
role of a lifetime, Michelle Yeoh. And at the end of the day, you could say it's about her mom, about her saving her daughter
Mhm.
from the depression of life, from not the you know from the you know the you know in helping her find meaning, but also at the same time letting her go. But what's so great about this storytelling, Alan, is that it is not about strong independent women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are your
At
thoughts?
least
What are your
on this
thoughts on
one.
that? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
At least, I mean, I think that's what makes this movie work is that what because she is normal, that allows us as an audience to relate to her. And I think that's what this is a mistake a lot of movies make, is that they don't make a character that's sympathetic enough or that we relate to enough to want us to engage with that character and kind of put ourselves in the shoes of that character. And so by being able to, to be in the shoes of Evelyn here, we're able to emotionally feel what she's feeling throughout the whole thing. And I think that's why we got emotional. I mean, I definitely wept a few tears at the beginning. My daughter definitely did when she saw it.
Yeah.
It's because we can relate to this character, and I think that's what, by making her a little bit too fantastic or a little bit, to give her skills that we don't have, that kind of creates a barrier between our ability to connect with it.
Well, even in one universe that she travels to, Alan, is the Kung Fu universe.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets everything she's ever wanted, fame. She's in Kung Fu movies. She's the big actress, but she didn't get the dude. She didn't have kids. And even there, it shows her incomplete, not perfect. I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Well, it's also a statement on what really matters in life. Is fame what really matters in life? Is finding validation for our life important, or does it really come down to family? And I think, when it comes down to it, what do you have in life except family?
So, Alan, this photo, she's got her third eye on. And that is a direct connection, right, with Doctor Strange and his third eye. But
there's a better picture. Yeah,
there's a better picture. But in fact, at this moment, I just saw this film for the second time. At this moment, she just said to her husband, because her husband's like, what are you doing? Because she's gonna go fight these guys and got all these guns and shit. And she's like, I'm learning to fight like you. And that was such a beautiful moment of respect and just acknowledgement of what a great husband he's been, because he's all about love and kindness and like the moments. And she puts on that goofy third eye, guys, are these Google eyes that the husband loves to put everywhere. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, yeah, again, you kind of brought it up there. He was the one who's been fighting to keep this relationship going. He's the one who fought to keep the family together, and it was this particular I forgot his name. I know it's Ki Young, but his
Wayman?
name in the movie. Yeah, Wayman.
Wayman.
Yeah. He was the only Wayman to finally give up and say, we need to divorce. And he had been pushed. He was fighting so hard. He was finally pushed to the point where he said, I need to end this. And that's one of the other tragic moments in the movie as well.
Yeah, and if we can, I was typing to you, Clobby, you're doing fantastic. Clobber Times is producing the show in the back. If you can grab a photo of Wayman and how do you Kiwei Kwan.
Yeah.
Everyone's been talking about this, and let's just get to his character and to this gentleman's who this gentleman is. If he looks familiar, no, that's not him. No, there he is, right there on the bottom right.
Yeah.
If he looks familiar, it's because he is Short Round from Indiana Jones. He is Data from the Goonies.
Yeah, I will say you don't necessarily recognize it in this picture. I mean, he's a lot older than he was back then.
He's a lot old. I think there was another photo where he's making that expression like Short Round would do it. Right away though, Romy, my girlfriend, she heard Data. Goonies is her favorite movie, so she heard. Oh my god! She's like,
Did she
"You
know
can tell."
beforehand, or did she recognize him in the movie?
She recognized him in the movie. She did
Oh
not know
wow.
he was in the movie. Goonies never say die. That's right. So Wayman is kind of a goof in this world, right?
Hmm.
He's very well meaning, but in her eyes, he's silly. She calls him silly a lot. My silly husband.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, she
but what we
dismisses him basically. I
very
think
dismissive.
I think that's the issue with it is, you know, they were in love at one point, and she kind of she like her daughter was on that search for meaning, that search for you know, finding who they really were, and to the point where everything else in her life, her daughter, her husband, just took second to a back seat to that basically.
And there's different iterations of Wayman. Of course, a alpha Wayman who's very much in control. He does the martial arts movements with his fanny pack. A very cool businessman Wayman who's all dashingly handsome. Um, and so the acting of these two is just on a different parallel, man. It's a
Hmm.
different parallel. Uh, what were your? Let me ask you this: how what, if anything, does it mean to you, because this family and the storyline comes from a Chinese American background, to see something so vaulted in storytelling that really I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in American cinema.
Yeah. What's funny is, like, I mean, I've kind of lived this life, not the multidimensional traveling, and but
Mm,
there, this is kind of the quintessential Asian American experience, Chinese American experience of parent approval.
mm,
You know, I am of that generation. My family has been in America for just a little over 100 years.
mm-hmm,
And the struggle to get here was so huge, to leave your homeland, to come to America for a better life. And there is, I'm pretty sure you've experienced the same thing in the sense of,
mm-hmm.
hey, I brought you here to have a better life, so stop squandering it. you know get to work. There's, we talk about Kiwei. There weren't a lot of Asian actors
Mm.
in Hollywood at that time, and we're talking the 80s and 90s, and we could call it racism, but at the same time, our parents didn't want us anywhere near the arts.
Ah,
They wanted us
it's
doctors,
interesting.
lawyers, and engineers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if I had told my mom I wanted to become an actor, she would have sent me off to med school, and just left me there. Um, and so there is that thing. I'll balance it by saying, yeah, in the 80s and 90s, there a lot of white productions. That's what it was. That's what American television was, and I don't think there's a lot of faith that if you made an Asian story, a Chinese story, that people would watch it. And so there was no money there. You look at Kiwei, he doesn't have a lot of contemporaries, and there's
Mm.
probably a handful. And so that's what life was like. I went into business. There's a lot of pressure for us to go into med school. There's a lot of pressure for us to become lawyers and engineers, and the arts was just not a part of it.
Now, let's push back a little bit on what you just said for the sake of conversation.
Yeah.
Alan, what are you talking about? There's been Asians in cinema in the 80s all over the place. You have Pat Morita, you had
Yeah.
Short Round. I mean, I don't see Asians. I just see great people. I just see great roles, great portrayals.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah,
am I am I racist for thinking that?
Yes, you are. No. No, look, Pat Morita. There was Pat Morita. His contemporary was probably James Hong, who was in the movie.
Yeah, he is. We'll get to James
Yeah.
in a minute. Yeah.
And and there you go. That was about it. Then Kiwei, he was in 2 movies, and then the he talks about it after Goonies. The parts just dried up, and then you basically have the Asian that everyone goes to. Um, Ken Leung was, he was in everything. Randall Park, he's in everything. It's not that you didn't see Asians in movies and televisions. You just saw the Asian of that time in that movie.
Right.
It's not like there was, we could name people that we see. We can name Asians we've seen in movies, and they'll probably fill both hands.
But why count? Why are you even looking? Shouldn't you just want the great story? What does it matter?
Well, that's the other thing is, that I think that would imply that I was necessarily upset about it. I think I was being very realistic about it. That maybe the supply of Asians were not that high. I talked to the casting director of MASH, and he talked about, it took place in South Korea, and or during the Korean War, and he talked about how hard, especially near the end of the run, it was to find Asian actors, anyone who could act, who could deliver a line. It's just, it's like, yeah, we weren't really going for it at that time, but at the same time, you kind of, it was great to see finally someone. It was great to see Pat Morita on screen, Randall Park, but you talk about, if I talk about the great Asian American movies, let's put it that way, the movies that were made in America and not imported from overseas.
Yeah, U.S. cinema.
Yeah, U.S. cinema. Joy Luck Club, Mulan, the animated. And honestly, it really didn't come back again until Crazy Rich Asians. And
there was Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon, yeah, that was wasn't that 70s?
That was 70s, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Bruce Lee was definitely, he was definitely producing a lot of stuff. But that kind of that's very 70s, very early 80s. But again, that was martial arts. You kind of expect, that's the stereotype at that point. Rush Hour was something pretty exciting to see. At least they brought it into Chinatown, and there's that element to it. But again, we're counting it on 2 hands. And and like I said, I'm not complaining about it. I love movies, I love television. But there are times, I think this is the thing that sticks with me most, is because when I hear people talk about diversity and talk about, oh, we have a diverse movie, we have a diverse this, we're bringing diversity. It usually refers to African Americans, and I think Latins and Asians we don't tend to get on those lists for some reason.
Well, let's put a pause on that. I wrote a note, and I want to come back to that, but I want to go back to the film, because and let's go back to that photo we had of Wayman with the surprised look, Klobby. That would be great. And yes, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about excuse me for getting Ki Hung Kwan. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, Kiwei Kwan.
Kiwei Kwan's incredible acting. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. People in the chat, you're watching this right now. This is Wayman in our universe. Now, let's go to Wayman with the tie on, Klobby. This is Wayman in the Kung Fu universe, where he's a very confident businessman him and Michelle Yeoh, excuse me, him and Michelle Yeoh never got together. Never, they split. They went their separate ways. And look at him, man. Yeah. Oh my God.
I know that's what I like about these multi-dimensional movies is the the takes that you could place upon yourself. Here I'm the kind of the goofy one. Here I'm the the handsome businessman. The spy, the kung fu artist. That's to be able to create variations of yourself. Is that happened in this movie, and it was incredible. Even Michelle Yeoh.
Even Michelle Yeoh.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And now here's why this movie is so amazing, people that are watching. Even with because the more universes they show, the very less time they showed. Like they're not in the Kung Fu universe a lot. They're not in different universe a lot. But the acting is so in the moment. It's so they're so real that even their 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. Alan, I'm in on every universe. Every universe is rich and full.
Yeah, even the hot dog finger universe.
Even we have not talked about Jamie Lee yet. We're gonna get to her in a minute. But yeah, speak to that, because I feel that is a big example of why Doctor Strange 2 did not work. It was a hot mess of storytelling with very flat characters outside of in the other dimensions.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like, I started collecting comic books again maybe 8 years ago, and then it started getting into multi-dimensional stuff and leading to the second Secret Wars. And when that came about, I kind of bailed out. It's like, okay, they're collapsing everything in Marvel comics. So I've I hate time travel stories, and I hate multiverse stories, but I loved how it worked out here. And I think that was the key to what the Daniels did, is they found an in to multi-dimensional film storytelling, and they found a way to make it great, to give it a hook that comes out of nowhere. The triggers, the movie is all, to be able to access another dimensional you requires a certain trigger, and it's always a very uncomfortable, very cringeworthy trigger. There's a part where Kiwi is trying to give himself paper cuts, and every time he's doing it, I'm just cringing on the screen. I just can't.
They needed 4.
Yeah, and and then when I took my daughter to see it, I realized there was one part I'm just gonna have to deal with it, but it has to do with the war. It has to do with the war.
You're talking about the penises.
Yeah. Well, and also the butt plugs.
Guys, oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
And you're absolutely right. There's so much detail and odd connections to each other's universes, and that's kind of like these different motifs of, like, even the cookie. The cookie was like in different universes. The hot dogs. Let's get a photo of Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis is in this film, guys, and she is hilarious. She is the IRS agent.
Yes.
Because the whole setup too, guys, is that Michelle Yeoh, she's being audited, and this is on the eve of the Chinese New Year. And oh my God,
it's her father's birthday. It was her father's birthday.
And but it's also Chinese New Year, no?
Oh, I don't remember that.
New Year.
Okay. Yeah.
Because remember, he says, "I want to start the New Year fresh with the."
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Let's see.
And that is Deidre, the IRS tax agent. That is just outstandingly bizarre and silly, but she made it work, bro.
Yeah. No, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I didn't know much about the movie, and I went to the LA premiere of it, and then she pops in, and it's like, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis is in this movie, and then when she comes out, and looking like this, it's like, we all know she can look a whole lot better than that, and she just really creates this I wouldn't say evil character, but yeah, she's definitely the antagonist of the film, especially when it comes to Michelle Yeoh's character, Evelyn's character.
Well, she represents the government and oppression, and she's so odd, this character. And in this photo, you see these awards. They're like black shaped awards, and she points to them. She's like, "You know how I got these? I got these being the best auditor because I can smell bullshit."
Oh my gosh. And but
No, no,
also
no.
she really goes for it in this movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
I saw that. I saw that tree rock. I saw that. Good
yeah.
joke. Good joke. Good joke. There's
You know,
some
I
great,
mean, as much
great comments there.
as much as Michelle Yeoh and Kiwi are, doing this whole multi-dimensional thing and really putting themselves out there physically, so does Jamie Lee Curtis in this.
So is Jamie Lee, because here she's kind of like the pot belly. Then there's another iteration of her where her belly gets sucked in, and she's a kung fu fighter. She's looking badass. Then there is the hot dog world, and if we can get a photo of her with hot dog fingers, look for that. And while you're doing that, we got another super chat from Maria with TNT. He's got a beautiful channel as well. For $3, she's a member of the channel. Fab guest. Fab a movie.
Thanks, Maria.
Much love and support. Gracias, Maria. And thank you to everyone who has given super chats today and support the slant. We love you. We thank you. I literally can't do this without those dollars. It goes a long way. And that being said, let us play. What are we going to play for you? Let's play. Oh, no. We'll do a longer video. Here you go.
Arr. Noise.
Arr.
Hey, do a mariachi one.
Okay, I don't know if it played. Did it play?
Yeah, it played.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
All right.
On the iPad, you have to. I think you have to press the screen or something to get sound going. But
no, it was just flashing. Like the video wasn't even going. Listen, last day on the on the iPad here. Okay. Crouching Tiger, hidden assets. It's funny, man. All right, so one of the worlds is a world where everyone has hot dogs for fingers, Alan. Yeah. Why do you think the filmmakers did this?
Just I'm just gonna say just to be weird. The idea that anything can happen anywhere. Hot dog fingers. I think I'm trying to think if there was something. There's another one just as weird. The Rocks, maybe the Rock.
Yeah, well, that's with the daughter. I think with this one, one thing is, Romy quickly saw that there was in their apartment they had these gloves hanging that were like hot dog hand gloves, and because you have these kind of these weird appendages going, that they got to be very good with their feet, and.
Yeah.
At one point, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's like because your fingers are hot dogs, you can't use them, and so everything's done with feet. Everything, even caressing your lover's face.
Caressing your lover's face or playing the piano.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what you're getting in this film, guys. You're gonna get a lot of just wonderfully odd takes. Yeah. Now let's get to the daughter.
Okay.
Because you were saying earlier, you feel that the daughter really is kind of like that Asian American story.
Yeah.
Acculturated, trying to please parents, but trying to be on her own, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
This woman. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say that this happens with any immigrant culture, but you have your first generation who came from the homeland to America, and they still live, in their mind as if they're in the homeland. And then you have their child who is kind of caught in between the two worlds of the parent, of the homeland and of now living in the United States. And then finally you have the third generation, which has less of the homeland culture and has more or less fully embraced the American culture. And you see, over the generations, it becomes less the culture of the homeland becomes less and less important. The biggest one is language. I don't speak Chinese at all. I have more forks in my house than I have chopsticks now. So there's that, and there's that transition to say, yeah, I'm much more American than I am Chinese, and I definitely feel that's true in my own life. And I think the daughter here is the same way. It's she is very disconnected from the homeland.
She's got a lot going on, a lot of rage, a lot of conflict against her mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like very personal.
Yeah, I think I think what's going on there is, Evelyn is so caught up in her own life and her own failed dreams that somehow her husband and her daughter are not a part of that anymore. And I think that's where that's when the relationship between the two of them just come to a head constantly. And and I think as children in these cases, they're constantly viewing themselves as disappointments, not just to, in this case, to her mother, but also to her grandfather as well. And, yeah, and and I think Evelyn's arc here is the fact that she has to ultimately accept her daughter for who she is, and then to be able to stand up for her daughter when the time comes.
And yes, there's a couple of universes more that we haven't mentioned. This one's shown maybe twice, where they are piñatas, and there's a great line where the daughter is saying to her, and they're piñatas, and they're not moving their mouths or anything, they're just kind of like in their thoughts, where she says, or we can just hang around. I will say too that there was a luchador, a Mexican wrestler moment where she clicked her fingers and everyone became like Latino. She had like a little curly mustache, and she was a wrestler, and she did a pile driver on one of the guys. That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. So with the story, guys, you go from a very disconnected mother and daughter to a connected mother and daughter on a nihilistic level, which is not good. And then at the end, you have a reunion of mother and daughter on just the basic values of family. And it was quite moving, man. It was quite moving.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? One thing that I think worked and from the multi-dimensional aspect, and you see it a bit in Doctor Strange as well, but it's this idea of who are you as a person, and then how does that translate from dimension to dimension to dimension? Because in every single case, Evelyn was herself. She was fighting the same struggles. She was, she was always eternally, she was always dimensionally at odds with her daughter, which is why Jobu Tobaki was trying to undo the entire universe. And then she always had this this standoffish relationship with Kiwei, and then with her father even. And that it didn't matter what universe it was, that this fatal flaw that Evelyn had still existed from universe to universe to universe, until the end when she and I think the ending is basically what her character needed to do, and that was to ultimately stand up for something. To the Rakakuni scene, she needed to.
Oh my God.
Needed to, it wasn't enough to stand on his shoulders and operate his legs. They had to reverse the role, and she had to be the one who needed her legs operated with Harry.
Yeah. Well, so in another universe, she's a like a Benihana chef.
Yeah, it's basically it's a parody of Ratatouille.
Okay, so I've never seen the movie, so go ahead and
no, in Ratatouille, there's a rat who's a master chef, and he is able to control the young chef by hiding underneath his cap, grabbing his hair, and then he's able to move his arms and legs to prepare the perfect meal. But in this case, instead of a rat, it's a raccoon. And but ultimately, at the end of the movie, the rat gets taken away, and that's
the raccoon. The raccoon gets taken away.
The raccoon, Ratatouille gets taken away, or Remy gets taken away. I shouldn't call him Ratatouille. And so that's it was at the end, in every dimension, she had to ultimately take a stand for what's right, and and save the day, so to speak. She becomes the hero of the movie at that point.
And we'll say it's a raccoon because she can't pronounce the movie in the regular universe. Michelle Yeoh calls it the Rakakuni.
Rakakuni. Well, I think it's also a copyright thing with Disney, so they probably
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, man, that was so bizarre. That was so bizarre.
Yeah. But what I liked about it, this is when we talk about the movie being dense, the Rakakuni portion just appears real quick. And then it has this payoff at the end. And that's why we're saying, there's literally no thread untied in this movie.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely. And Claudia, if you can grab one of the pics of the grandfather, James Hong.
Yeah, James Hong.
Haon.
Hong.
Hong.
Yeah.
James Hong.
Now, James,
and we all know and love him. We all know and love him.
James is 90, and he just got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he's been in movies and television since the 60s.
There's that first picture. It's him as the grandfather, as the father. Yes, James is in this role, and this is an interesting relationship as well, right? Because she hates him for letting her go so easily. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's playing the stereotypical patriarch, Chinese patriarch, and there's things about stereotypes. Is there's a dose of reality in it, and it is he is the ruler of the family, and by being the ruler of the family, everyone under you will never live up to your potential, and you constantly let them know that. And I think that's where where it's those little idiosyncrasies that we pass on from one generation to the next, and you hope at some point someone breaks that, and I think there's a lot of that in this movie.
And he's got different iterations as well. But the one at the end where she basically says let her go. There's a beautiful moment where all the family is literally holding on to each other and trying to pull the daughter out of the black hole bagel.
Yeah. And you see this robot arm come out and grab them.
Yeah, the robot arm. I lost my thought on James. Let's say hello to real quick Retro Nerd Girl. Love this film. It's so unique, funny, wickedly entertaining. Great to see Alan on the show.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, Retro. This movie, I believe, is only 2 hours and a couple of minutes, but it feels like a 3-hour movie because it is the storytelling is dense, and I want to say that to you guys because we've gotten so used to Hollywood, like just crappy storytelling, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
This is storytelling.
No, that's clever storytelling.
Mm.
I think that's what makes this stand out above the crowd. I would dare say it's much more clever than Doctor Strange was, and I'm one of the very few people who actually like Doctor Strange. They're
Well, it was
very,
nice having you on the show.
yeah.
I know you have to go.
I get this on my channel.
Ah,
I get this on my channel.
I know. Hey, I'm doing a little Chris Gore right now. I gotta say hello to one of my buddies. He's a movie reviewer on Latinx Lens, Rosa Para. Uh, Guys, go check out her work. We're gonna have her on. We're gonna do our 2022 best movies so far. We did it last year. Gonna have her on. She loved this movie, Alan. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys know each other.
I don't know, no, but I would agree. This is definitely my favorite movie of the year. And ironically, we were talking a couple days ago, but I took my daughter to see Top Gun, and this is her favorite movie, and Top Gun is definitely her second favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, I think we were. I had thrown that question out to Chris Gore this morning and to Rosa. I would say for me right now, we have Triple R, we
Mm-hmm.
have this movie, The Northman, Top Gun, and I, I think that's it for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think everything else is kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I kind of go if I'm willing to see it again. It
Cool,
definitely
right.
goes to the top.
Oh, Massive Talent was very good. Massive Talent.
Okay, I've not seen that one yet, but I do want to see that.
That's like in my top 10. That's in my top 10. But back to this film. So can we'll close up we'll start closing up the conversation on this film, and we'll chat a little bit with Alan. Claudia, can you get the one with all the family at the desk of Jamie Lee Curtis? I remembered my thought. Even in the hot dog universe, Michelle was her thing there was to love someone that's different,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of goes back to accepting her daughter's girlfriend.
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. Right here, guys, is really I've read your review. I've seen a lot of different reviews. People are calling this a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy Spoilers did a good one where basically they said, whereas Michelle's character started this movie alone, this is how we ended, where the family is trying to approach this problem together. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I paused just for a moment because I think, I think this is that family struggle. When you become a teenager and become a young adult, you've been raised by your parents all your life, and now finally you have freedom, and there's a, and it's kind of at that point, how screwed up are you at that point? And most of us kids, we kind of just back away from our families. And I think I certainly did that in my own life until finally, when coming to become a full adult, realizing just how important family is. And I think I'm tighter with my family now than I've ever been. But, you have that, that's the thing, at least in my life, that keeps me somewhat sane and keeps me somewhat grounded on the ground, grounded in life. And, I believe fully that we were not meant to live on this planet alone. And I think COVID is something that showed that to us. We can't live in isolation without going crazy.
No, a lot of people have lost their mental game, man, big time, big time. I think what you're talking about too, in regards to my culture, is a very Chicano experience. In that, I grew up so American, and then in college, and then in the years after that, I started tunneling back in my culture, to where like I am more, this is the most Mexican American I've been, and I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And you're absolutely right. Family, food, language, music. I wanted nothing to do with music in Spanish when I was growing up.
Mhm.
I wanted to be like my friends and listen to Duran Duran or whatever. Was definitely not mariachi music or Los Lobos. That was embarrassing shit.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't know if you've been to LA Chinatown in a while, but it's almost a ghost town. There's definitely a lot of gentrification going on. I think a lot of
Mm.
like my grandfather's restaurant is now kind of just sits there. It's more or less a museum piece. It's being used for exteriors when Hollywood needs one of those traditional Chinese restaurants in the background. And but it's like half of me misses it, half of me wishes I had held on much more to my culture than I had, and and I'm desperately trying to pass that along to. I mean, gosh, I'm still trying to teach my daughter to use chopsticks, and I'm losing by the day.
Well, for us, it's a tortilla, and that'll never die. I love. I got a strong tortilla game.
Yes,
I cook. And that is definitely handed down. What I need to do is I need to get my grandmother's tamale recipe. She's still
yeah, I was
alive.
going to mention that. How's your tamale game?
It's lacking, but yeah, no, and then those what we're talking about brings all kinds of people to the dinner table,
Hmm.
right? Our friends like Chris Gore,
Yeah,
Midnight, Tom, Midnight Six. They all have like, oh, I love this band. I love this, this food, or and it's stuff we can talk about.
yeah,
Or like, and you and Klobby were talking about
comic
comic
book.
books earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that, if you really think about it, all our stories are the same. They're absolutely the same. It's just the decorations we put on it, the coverings we put on it. It's, I would say of all the TV shows that I felt like, that I felt seen in, that I felt was the most Asian experience was
Hmm.
Everybody Loves Raymond. Uh,
Yeah, you said that the other day. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah, the family. It's all about
Hmm.
this highly dysfunctional family,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
and the reason I think the show did so well and went as long as it did and had the audience that it has is because everyone could experience it. Everyone had been there, and even though it's an Italian family,
Yeah.
and because when it comes down to it, that's the shared experience we all have, and it doesn't matter what culture you come from. There's always family, and family screws you up in some way, and then often the same ways.
Amen to family. Claude, if we can get a final image of the that official movie poster that's so beautiful there. Uh, this film still is out. It's still making money. I believe it's like in the top 10 or maybe the top five. It's made $56 million. It's has a budget of 15 million.
Yeah.
It 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 is an incredible work of art as far as editing, cinematography, fight choreography.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, just
uh,
story and story structure. It's
this, mm,
the
mhm,
whole. I mean, this does the multiverse right, and I'm not a
mhm.
big fan of the multiverse. It's clever, um, and it's I would say it's authentic to what I'm familiar with from my own culture as well.
So, guys, I highly recommend seeing it. If you can see it in the theater, even better. E- I just, yeah, even better. I saw it also, here on the screen. It was just as good, but I highly recommend it in the theater. How about you, Alan?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm looking at it now. It's the box office mojo. It's 57.5 million. Let's get it to
Wow.
57.6 million. How about that?
Wow. Yeah. And the Burst Angel has been let's do that. Let's do it. Let's get it. Let's get it to 60 million. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Burst Angel's been coming out with some great chats, comments, all through this show. Just found out the fight choreography and team are YouTubers. Yeah. So that was one way that they could save money, but the directors also were fans of these guys.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing was that how would Michelle Yeoh, feel like working with these YouTubers, because she's worked with, Wu Ping, like she's worked with the Shakespeare of fight choreography.
Yeah, but let's also mention that she's almost gotten killed a few times working with them.
Well, what she says is that these guys reminded her of when she first started out. Like, these guys were incredible.
I mean, you couldn't make those films in America because no one would insure them, and the stunts are just way too dangerous. There's not a lot of safety precautions put in place, and I think that's why we like it, because of that element of death.
Right. So, yeah, I think originally too that the film, the first script, I believe, was 240 pages. I mean, that's like 4 hours, guys. I was listening to an interview with the directors, and it's just fascinating to get the info. And two, there's an infamous fight scene now with Wayman and his fanny pack.
Yeah.
If there's any way we can find that photo, I did lie. I do want to see another photo. Maybe Wayman and fanny pack. He had a move where he had to use the fanny pack and the leverage of the fanny pack that had rocks in it as a fighting kind of swaying thing, where it had to sway around his arm, sway around his neck, and then throw it back to hit that person. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
To hit that enemy there. And the actor was saying in an interview, normally, it would take, dozens and dozens of takes to get it right, especially if you wanted like a one shot. These guys, with their budget, they told him, we only have 3 takes that we could get it right in. He got it right on the second take. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's so great.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the one thing I really appreciate about Jackie Chan, I think the first movie that I really saw of his was Rumble in the Bronx, and
Same.
And to me, that movie reminded me of Singing in the Rain, where Donald O'Connor and I can't remember. I should know that
Gene Kelly.
They're dancing. Not only are they dancing, but they're dancing and using the environment that they're in as props and as aids in these dances. Rumble in the Bronx is the same way. You look at the props, the weapons he uses, the locations. He incorporates the pinball fight. Everything is like, how can we fight around a pinball machine? And they did it. They used every aspect of the pinball machine, and that's kind of like remind me of the whole fanny pack thing. It's like, okay, what are the million ways you can use a fanny pack and use it as a weapon? And they showed it in this one little scene.
Well, and to go off on that, what are the million props at an IRS office that we can get into this freaking movie?
Yeah.
The butt plug award. The janitor's closet. The aquarium rocks,
the stairwell in the back.
Stairwell in the back. I mean, these filmmakers really took advantage of like every prop and item. It was fantastic. Alan, wasn't Rumble in the Bronx just a movie about him beating up people?
Well, I think the people are beating him up too. No. Okay,
yeah,
so
story-wise,
the plot. Yeah, the plot. Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing Rumble in the Bronx for the plot. Not at all.
No,
You know,
no.
just as you're not watching Sing in the Rain for the plot, you're there to see fantastic choreographed scenes, one after the other. Because yeah, the plot in Rumble in the Bronx is crap. It's absolute crap.
Jedi Cowboy comes in. I just saw it on Saturday. It was awesome. At first, I was on the fence because it was so trippy, but it all just worked. And the story and the message was so beautiful. Nice. I'm glad you liked it, Jedi. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm glad people are talking about it. I almost missed the boat. I almost didn't, just like Triple R, if it wasn't for Chris Gore, I wouldn't have seen it in the theater.
Mhm.
But I almost missed the boat on this one. And I, I had two choices the other day. See this one or Downton Abbey at that 4 o'clock time. I'm gonna go see Michelle Yeoh. You know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. The fight scenes in Downton Abbey, I hear, are incredible. Yeah.
Incredible, just
You know,
amazing.
I mean, this is why Film Thread exists. We hunt out the movies that the big studios just aren't producing. You know, A24 has always been known for, these I'd say mid-range, mid-budget indie films. And the thing about it is when you don't have money, you're not beholden to a big studio to dictate your message or dictate what your story needs to be. You know, these are filmmaker stories. You know, and that's why we complain so much about, the MCU and and all these other,
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's because there's a higher committee that you're beholden to, and that's why these directors, are quitting because they can't tell their story.
Oop. I dropped some water. Great point, because that reminds me in the fight choreography scenes here, in another way that they were able to save time, production time, and money, is that they didn't have a second unit to film the fight choreography scenes. The director's like, no, we want to film our own fight scenes, and we don't need a pre-visualization. Pre-viz is where the choreography team does a whole production and films it, or maybe they have the directors down and they approve it. Sometimes it's not even the directors that get to approve it. When you're at Marvel or whatever, you got this committee approving these fight scenes. Yeah. These guys had no previs. They just went in, did the rehearsal with the directors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's an independent, creative way of doing a martial arts multiverse movie that's independent. I mean, he said something that it had like so many, like 500 cuts.
Oh, I believe that.
Something insane, like 500 edits, like 500, cutaways.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're moving from dimension to dimension, those are 3-second, 5-second cuts, maybe 1-second cuts. They're, whenever I think about making a film, a movie like this just tells you, oh, your brain is just too limited to to be able to pull off something like this.
Yeah, but I think at first, but I think when I get to see an interview of the writer, the directors, you get to see their process. It's like, oh, yeah. they're just human beings too, man. And they were asking those questions, and a lot of it comes with luck and timing of other elements. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
And their vision was risky. I mean, this could have easily have failed as much as it succeeded. So they had to know their stuff. They've both made a lot of movies before this, and this is one insane movie.
Yes, the Russo brothers were producers on this film as well.
Oh yeah.
So it just goes to show you, Alan, that, and we can say goodbye to the images, Clavi, as we wrap it up with Alan. It goes to show you just how creatively lacking, these big, we'll say big studios. We'll say the
Yeah,
studios,
I say big studios,
yeah,
Hollywood.
have become.
Hmm. I mean, I get it. If you're gonna give someone $200 million to make a movie, there's no room for failure, and so that makes studios control freaks. And there's now, when you're given that kind of money, there's now conditions involved. And and the ability to take risks. Your risk not only does it have to pay off, but you have to prove it'll pay off. And that's the problem with the big studio films. With indie films, yeah. I mean, I appreciate filmmakers who take risks. They don't always pay off. They don't always work, but when they do, it's beautiful. And and it'll make and break careers. But I think that's what filmmakers have to do. They have to take risks. They have to find some risk in their story, or some risk in the way they tell their story, in order for it to stand out from a very large crowd. And that's hard to do. And that's like I said, that's something Hollywood's not going to allow you to do. They won't let you take a risk at all.
Let me ask you this. That being said, you guys cover on Film Threat so much, so you guys get so many submissions. You guys just have your award show. Are there a couple of indie films that are now more accessible that you can recommend to our crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, we just had our award this ceremony last week, and we celebrated some of the best indie films from last year. The big winner was Donnie's Bar Mitzvah, and that's one of those offensive cringe comedies. And it's it it does nothing but take a risk, and it's if you just want to laugh, and if you don't care about being offended, that's a great movie to watch.
Donnie's Bar Mitzvah. We should have an Alan recommends video, like they have a Midnight's Edge for Chris.
Yeah.
Alan recommends.
Yeah. Another winner was it's called Delicate State, and the director was there, Paula Rhodes, but she kind of does a documentary style film where there's a civil war going on in America, and she's warned to leave her home and move to the country, but she's pregnant. And the cool thing about this movie is she was actually pregnant while making the movie, and her entire pregnancy is involved in the film. The movie took around 9 months to make, and at the end of the movie, she actually gives birth to her actual child. So that's, again, risky filmmaking, because that could have easily have failed if they couldn't get her to the finish line with their child.
And what was that called again?
It's called Delicate State. Delicate
State. So you recommend Donnie's Bar Mitzvah and Delicate State. Where can we check those out?
Those both should be on video on demand.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just look on Amazon or Vudu or iTunes, and it should be there.
And you can also, you guys have covered these movies on Film Thread as well?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Let's take a couple questions and then we'll wrap it up, Alan. Is that cool?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Alan, don't big studios have like a 3 strikes rule or something? Like if a director or an actor fails so many times, then they're out.
In some cases, it's 1 strike.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's it's just one of those. If they give you a chance and you blow it, you're gone. You're done for a long time. We talk about Pat Morita. When he was doing Happy Days, ABC loved him as an actor. They gave him his own television show that lasted maybe an episode or 2. It was really bad.
Oh.
And when it failed, not only did Pat Morita not go back, did they not only not let him go back to Happy Days, his career was over for several years after that point.
Wow. Yeah. What a risk, man.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they wouldn't let him back on the show that made him famous. That's the thing that gets me.
So he couldn't do Arnold.
Yeah.
and then he ended up becoming Miyagi.
Yeah. But how much longer? I mean, that's several
That,
years later.
that's yeah. Those are the
Yeah.
breaks of with that business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, mhm.
American Girl with Margaret Cho. That was a sitcom that lasted, I'm pretty sure, maybe 1 or 2 episodes. It failed, and as an Asian American television show, we didn't see another one until Fresh Off the Boat came. And so we're talking maybe 20 years at that point.
That was a long time.
Yeah.
That's a
I mean,
long,
that's what happens. That's a
that was a
failure.
long time, Jack.
We gave you people your own show. You failed at it, so wait another 20 years.
It seems that the whether okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to the note that I had, and it kind of goes with this, and then we can really say our goodbyes. We're talking about Marita here, Bruce Lee there, Margaret Cho here. Of all that, now we're talking almost 50 years in the modern Hollywood era,
Mhm.
television and film. How many of those projects were written and directed by Asian American creatives?
Yeah. Well, definitely the Pat Morita TV show was not run by Asian Americans. I will say I think the biggest successes of Asian American film and television have all been helmed by Asians. Joy Luck Club, Wayne Wang directed that one. It was written by based on Amy Tan's book.
Based off the book, Amy Tan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you have at least the original story coming from an Asian, and then the director being Asian, and then the all Asian cast. I can't, honestly, I'm trying to think of a truly Asian American movie between that and
Crazy Rich Asians. Better Luck Tomorrow.
Better Luck Tomorrow. But I'm talking like big studio, like
Yeah.
Disney.
Well,
Disney was behind. Yeah,
well, Justin Lin, right? That's his breakout, right?
I think so.
So
Was that? Yeah, but was
he
that
ended up.
a big studio film, or was that bought by?
No. It is an indie film, but it did launch his career as a director.
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, and he had that success, and thankfully Hollywood saw that success and gave him bigger and better projects to work on at that point.
I mean, it's I haven't seen a Fast and Furious movie in years.
Yeah.
It seems very diverse though with the casting.
Yeah. But they gave him a chance, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ang Lee certainly has gotten, but he's hardly Asian American. He's definitely Asian.
I love Ang Lee. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He did the Hulk, for crying out loud. So.
The Hulk. And then so it wasn't really until Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, and again, that was based on a book by Asian Kevin. I think it's Kevin Kwan, and I'm trying to remember the director's name, but he did
John
In the
Chu.
Heights. Yeah, John Chu. He did In the Heights, and now he's doing Wicked. So that's another example of someone who proved himself, and that's essentially how it works. It's all merit based. You prove yourself, and they give you the projects to work on. John Chu got, once Crazy Rich Asians came out and it did well, he got, I will say he got Wicked because of it. I think his friendship with Lin-Manuel Miranda got him In the Heights. So,
let me get back to that In the Heights. The Farewell. Who was in that? Who did the? Farewell?
That was Awkwafina. And the Farewell was I think that was Neon. So that's I would consider that one independent as opposed to big.
Okay. All right. So independent film is always kind of like light years ahead of well,
it makes the it's the proving ground for
right.
future Taika Waititi, he did What We Do in the Shadows, amongst other things, Flight of the Conchords. And for him to jump from What We Do in the Shadows to Thor is a very big jump. But proved himself at that point.
John Chu directed In the Heights, which some would say is a Latino film,
Hmm.
and there was arguments on him being the director, on the casting they did.
Hmm.
They got a lot of bad press last year. Did you have any thoughts on that last year? What do you think about that? Do you have to be Latino to do a Latino musical? Do you have to be Asian to do an Asian multiverse movie?
Yeah, I heard you talk about this on the representation episode of your thing,
Yeah.
and I think it helps. I think it helps a lot. I'll be honest. I can't honestly think of an Asian or Asian American tale done right by a white person. You know,
Hmm.
and I feel like I don't know that Western directors understand Eastern stories or Eastern culture enough. And the biggest example of that was Disney's Mulan. It was
Hmm.
a Western director, female, um, but there were so many things wrong in that movie from a cultural standpoint.
Hmm.
We could pick out things in the movie that were just like, no, that's not culturally accurate at all. Um, and So I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but
Hmm.
you know, you I think one of your guests said, you got to do your research. You got to
Yeah.
know, if you're going to go outside your comfort zone, yeah, you better damn well do your research. Um, you know, in terms of John M. Chu with In the Heights,
Yeah.
you know, it's a musical. I think he did the musical aspect of it well. Um, and I would imagine that those involved in that movie trusted him enough to handle the story, at least give him the research needed to handle that story. Because I mean, you know, there was a lot of Latin actors, actresses, filmmakers on that set. I would think someone would have spoken up if something was going wrong at that point.
I think he did a fine job.
Yeah.
I think I think depending on, like you said, depending on, like, okay, well, he's gonna do a dramatic story on zoot suiters of the 40s in South LA. You know, you're gonna have to do a lot of homework if you don't if you're not
Yeah.
from that, because it can be a great story.
Hmm.
But I think you can tell the difference when it is someone who's not from the culture, who doesn't do their research, and kind of just, it used to be really bad, right? Because back
Yeah.
in the day, they wouldn't even hire the casting to be so inaccurate that it was a joke,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh, what's that?
Yeah, what comes to mind are the olden days of Hollywood when Asian characters were played by white people. Alec Guinness, he played a Chinese man.
Mm,
I mean Mickey Rooney. I mean that's just a classic role right there from Breakfast at Tiffany's. Um,
mm.
you know, they didn't quite do their research. They got the look and the accent down, and somehow that's enough, really.
Mm. Marlon Brando
Yeah.
played a Japanese and he played a Mexican.
Hmm.
Um, but that was a different time, right? And
Yeah.
I think we've come a long way, and yet there's always some stumbles. What have you heard about any of that kind of garbage, pro or con, in regards to back to our Everything Everywhere All at Once? Have you heard anything at all about, as far as?
Not really. I mean, I've, at least from, it's not like I'm the authority of the Asian American community, Chinese American community, but I've not heard anything wrong about it.
What?
And
You're
quite
not?
frankly, a lot of most of my friends like the movie a lot.
Mhm.
And like I said, it was very, for my growing up in LA. This movie takes place in LA. It felt very familiar to me, and so I think they nailed it. And it's the two Daniels. One of Daniel Kwan is one, so I think he certainly didn't need to do a lot of research because he lived he's lived the Chinese American life in LA himself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is one that really, just like we talked about at the beginning, this is elevated.
Hmm.
This is elevated, and it's probably going to be talked about during award season, which I think is fantastic because this is a U.S. cinema made movie.
Yeah.
It's not what's the one from a few years ago from Korea,
Oh, Parasite.
Parasite,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. It's just not from here.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, again, it's that universality of stories. You know, all the stories are the same. It's just, you know, the covering you put on it, the decorations you set around it. But you know, Parasite was a very familiar story to the world, and that's why it did so well.
all right, final question. You're the film editor at Film Threat. What's the story with Chris Gore? When are you guys gonna get rid of him?
Ah,
When can we expect an announcement
I
on his
know,
problematic behavior?
I know.
Uh,
He's not only gonna get himself canceled, but he's gonna get us canceled too. And it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
that's funny, man. That's funny. Hey, I know technically it's a holiday, dude. You giving us an hour and 40 minutes of your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
Really
no, this was
appreciate it.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you know.
you know, I like talking about my culture, and I like talking about good films, and no, and at the same time, I do like watching your channel too. I've you got me hooked on Lincoln Lawyer. I was,
Yes, man. Yes. I'm gonna try to get an interview with one of those producers because
uh-huh.
I think that Lincoln Lawyer they've captured LA in a way that hasn't been done in a long time.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
that's
like 10 minutes in the scene where he's with the judge and she's giving him the lowdown of what happened and how he got this practice. And you know, that one scene just set up the entire series, made it exciting, and made me invested in how this story is going to end. And that's, you know, that's rare nowadays in television to
mm,
just set the expectation so high that the audience has to watch it. And I think that this is the complaint we have about, you know, Star Wars and the MCU and other television shows. It's just you're you're not taking a risk here. You're not giving us a bold story and then doubling down on it and you know and making it and doing exactly what you say you're going to do in that story.
Jacob Ironside. Hello, Slant.
Hey,
Hello,
Jacob.
Polly and Alan. What's up, man? What's up, man? If you're just getting here, you're gonna have to hit the replay. We're about to wrap up. All right, let me throw one last question at you. Uh, what give me your favorite Latino film?
My favorite Latino film. I should have done research on this.
Nah.
I know. It's like,
X
oh,
X.
you know what? There was one last year. It was a comedy. I forgot the name of it, but it was about a father who left his mother and daughter in Mexico when the peso crashed, and he went to
Okay.
America and he started a brand new family there, and he dies fairly wealthy, and the son in Mexico, he becomes
Oh,
this
right.
rich
Yeah.
airplane magnate, and it's these two brothers are having to connect, having never met, and you know he's the straight up businessman, and he's this slacker.
Yeah.
And did
That
you see
that's your that man. You know what? You just lost credibility with me. Get out of here.
it?
I watched like a half hour of that. I'm like, oh, this is lame.
Oh, I loved that movie.
Okay, well, maybe I need to finish it. Caviteño loved Once Upon a Time Mexico. Great
Mhm.
film. Desperado's great.
Yeah,
Visinger, El Chicano. I don't know if Chris Gore got to see El Chicano. I know he rented it. I've been raving about
yeah.
that one. That's an indie film that was done for very low, great action,
Mhm.
very straightforward movie, you know. So yeah. Well, cool, man. If you're just getting here again, we've had a great stream. Hit it from the beginning. We did our best breaking down everything everywhere all at once for you. Any closing thoughts from you, Alan, on this
Yeah,
film?
no, I appreciate you having me on. I haven't been able to talk about that movie in depth, and it just reminds me of, again, it's amongst its craziness, there's a heart behind it, and that's what
Huge.
it's that heart that connects everybody to the story, and that's what makes stories great, regardless of what your budget is or how insane your plot is. You've got to touch people in the heart where they're at.
Well, great, man. Thank you for. We're happy you're here real fast. Rosa says Stand and Deliver. That's a great movie.
Oh yeah.
Cavateño
spoke at my college graduation. So.
Oh my God. Well, he was a Golden Eagle.
Yeah, absolutely. Billie Jean King.
Billie Jean King. Was she really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God.
She's got her own wing at the college, I believe.
Oh my God. Cavateño Tortilla Soup was a great movie that was adapted from Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. That was pretty good at adaptation. That wasn't bad. It was a sweet. I'm a big fan of Eat, Drink. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, we had some great people in the chat. Great guest. Tell people where they can catch you on YouTube.
Oh yeah, we're at youtube.com/filmthreat. We're also filmthreat.com. We publish at least 3 to 4 reviews every day on indie films and some of the big Hollywood stuff. I write there as well. And then Twitter at filmthreat on every social media platform. Nice.
And when's your next live show?
It'll be Wednesday. I'll actually be on the road. I should be in Monterey for that one. Yeah. Nice. So I'll be on my iPad when.
Nice. Man. Yeah, it's good when you're on the road or even my iPhone, but here at the house, it's driving me crazy. It's driving not to be able to
control things. Yeah.
Yeah, to control things, connectivity. Well, cool, guys. I will be back. We're gonna have a couple things happening. We're gonna have videos every day. I'm going Wednesday night to see Triple R in the theater, taking the family. Then Thursday morning, I'll be back with Tom Conkle, and we're gonna break down episode 3 of everyone's favorite new television show. It's called Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I know. I know. We're doing the same thing. Chris is gonna break down Kenobi, and I'm gonna break down Ms. Marvel when that comes out. So.
I want to see. Hey, I want to see Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, I will tell you the trailer is absolutely accurate to what the show is like.
Oh, did you get to see the show?
Yeah, I've seen the first 2 episodes.
2 episodes. Oh yeah, you're one of those reviewers. You get the perks, just like Rosa over here.
Yeah,
she gets this. Yeah, all right, professionals.
Yeah, but right. Watch that trailer. You'll get exactly what that show's about.
Much love, everyone in the chat. If you are a member of the channel, you're gonna see your name in the closing credits. We've gotten a couple new members, so I gotta update it. Until then, wherever you're at, keep your fight, keep your slant muy fuerte. Gracias. Thank you so much, Alan. Take care.
Thank you.